Hi everyone, welcome to RPA Explorers channel.
In today's video, we are going to see about one of the useful component which is parallel, which helps us in executing multiple component to perform multiple actions parallelly. Let's understand them. So it says that it executes multiple component in a sequence to perform multiple actions, and also it has something called threads in which you have to place your component or actions to be executed parallelly. So let's see the example they have given. So they say that in thread 1 we have to use the component which is start app to launch your Google Chrome, and in thread 2 we have to use something like send keys which helps us to work with UI element to launch your URL. So which I have done over here. So when you just use the parallel component, you have like this, and in order to add your threads you have to plus on this. So you can add many threads as you want. So here I have two threads, thread 0 and thread 1. As I have mentioned there, I have added start app in one of the thread and send keys in my second thread. But both does the same job. Like in both of these threads, I'm just launching the RPA chat. And they have given like how you have to add your threads and how you can get the parallel activity. And also there is a note that there are two activities or component which you cannot use in this parallel component. So you have something called send keys and mouse component which is under the utilities, which you cannot add them in the parallel component. So if you filter with send keys, you get two, one under the actions UI and one under the utility. So you cannot use these send keys in the parallel. Similarly, you cannot use all the mouse action which comes under utilities. Let me just run this now, and you can see that the thread 1 which is startup launched the application successfully, and the thread 2 will be trying to find the respective image to type in the URL. As it did not found anything, it got failed. So you can see that the image could not be found. So basically this parallel activity can be useful when you want to execute multiple actions in an asynchronous manner. Like if executing the order doesn't matter, then you can go with this parallel activity. In this case, they are trying to launch the application in two different ways. If any one of the way which gets successful, you can have some variable which you can assign it or you can reset it. So based on that variable you assign, you can make a decision when you come out of the parallel loop. So here I have a variable which is a global variable called global test1, and initially I set the variable to false. So once the application is launched successfully, you can set the variable to true. So similarly, you can do this over here. So now my variable will be turned to true, and also my application is launched successfully. When you are coming out of the parallel loop, here you can make a decision whether the application is launched successfully or not. And based on this, you can do whatever actions you want to do after you launch it. So this is just a simple example they have given. Let me also show you a different example, like how you can make use of this parallel component on a single application to execute multiple actions. As I mentioned already, this can be useful to perform asynchronous action. When I say asynchronous, it doesn't mean that always thread 0 will be the first action to execute and thread 1 then thread 2. So it can do on any order, like it can go with 1 then 0 then 3. Just to understand this, let me run a quick example to show this. Let me take a message box to display the output. So in the thread 0 we just print 0, and in thread 1 we'll have 1. And now let's run this. And now the thread 0 got executed first, so we have 0, and secondly the thread 2 got executed, so we have 2, and thirdly the 1 got executed, we have 1. So you can see that it is not executing in the same order. Let me also rerun this, and this time the third parallel got executed, this 2, and then the second one, and then 0. So we'll do it one more time. This time also 2, 1 and 0. So every time you run this parallel component, the order of the execution will always be different. You can say that this parallel component will be helpful when you want to do certain actions on a single application or on a different application without any sequence of action. Okay. So now in order to understand this even better, let's try to use the same application rpschallenge.com to execute different actions in it. So I have my 3 threads. Now let's pick the start app to start the application. So I'm just going to have the same. So first step is to start my application before I execute the parallel, and then let's have wait for image. So I want to execute some actions based on the wait for image component. So just click on this plus and then click on this camera where it allows you to select the image. And here as soon as you click it, you will be able to see that control plus shift for selection. So you just have to press it. Go to the respective page, and now I'm going to capture some unique element on this page to identify if the application is launched successfully or not. So let's have this input form which is always constant here. I'm going to press control plus shift. Then let's capture the input forms. So this is my first parallel, and for the second parallel let's add something different. So I'm going to have this instruction as my anchor, and to produce an error I'm just going to change something on the page which is not constant always. When I click on start, it just turned to round 1. Now let's capture this. And every time when you launch your application, you will be able to see start, not the round 1. So if I refresh the page, you can see the start one. I've captured 3 wait for images. Now let's execute some actions for each images. And I'm going to have send keys from UI. Let's capture some keys. So in case I have input forms, I want to capture my first name. And let's do the same for other 2. I'm going to have some random data, so let's call it as RPA. Last name will be Explorers, and for the role I just have ABC. So this is done. So after you capture your images, make sure you add some anchor so that the bot can easily identify the images. So to add your anchor, go to the respective images, right click on it, click on add anchor, and here I want my first name to be anchor, and always make sure that your anchor should be constant always. If it is something keep on changing, don't keep that as anchor, it usually fails. So I'm just going to add anchor for all my 3 captured field. So anchor is something which helps the bot to identify which image or where exactly it has to perform the defined action. So now when the bot is running, it just find the anchor as first name. So wherever the first name is found, it start typing RPA. So now this is done, and also we'll see the properties of the send keys. And now we'll see the properties for the send keys. So by default the input type would be send input. In one of my previous videos I have shown what is the difference between send input and send keys. So send input is something which just type how we usually type letter by letter. So and if I go to send keys, it is more faster. It's just like a copy and pasting of the actual text into it. So I'm just changing to send keys for all of them. Now let's look at the property for wait for images. So initially it used to be wait for any. I have changed it to wait for all. So just to wait for the complete image to be loaded. So I just changed to wait for all. Let's run the process now. Okay, so our first name was RPA and second name is Explorer, but it is typing together in the last name. Let's see why it is happening. So it is trying to find the round 1, which is the third wait for images. Let's wait for some time and check the code. And now the execution is completed. Let's look at the code. The first image is found, so it start typing RPA, and parallelly the second one also executed, so the instruction is also found, so it started typing the last name. So if you notice that both the images are found parallelly, and hence it started typing the field together in the same position. So now to avoid this, always make sure that you had some delay after you have some wait for images. So here after wait for images, I'm just going to add some delay like 5 seconds. so that before it start finding the next wait for images, it can either start typing the first name or it can start finding the last name. Let me quickly run this and show the output now. So bot found the first one and also it got the second one instruction, and then it started typing Explorer. As we have wait for images 5-second delay for the first image, after 5 seconds it started typing RPA in the first name, which is the expected output now. And this time also the third one did not found. I hope you guys find the difference between the delay we add for wait for images and without adding it. So if you're not providing any delay, bot execute the threads parallelly, and once the latest wait for image is found, it just start typing all the send keys together in the latest send key anchor. So make sure you add some delay. It's not just for the first one. If you have more than one threads which is using wait for images, add delay of 5 seconds or 2 seconds depending on the application you interact, and then start doing the respective actions. So in that way, thread will not over execute the action. So I hope you got the understanding of how you can make use of this parallel activity. Basic example to understand the parallel component, so you can explore it in a different applications as well. In case you guys have any doubt or suggestions, please let me know in the comment section. And also in the next video, we'll see how you can make use of this parallel component to work with checkboxes. So if you have any applications or windows which has checkboxes either to select or deselect it, we'll see them in the next video. And thank you so much for watching this video till the end.